always there for a reason. If we're feeling empty, if we're feeling lost, if we're feeling that like ache, almost like an existential ache that we want to find another path. And it's very important to listen to that rather than trying to kind of like lie to ourselves because we want.
Hi, my name is Yana. Thank you for watching. This episode starts with an audio introduction and continues with the video content. So remember to watch it until the end. And subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, share with friends. Thank you for being here and listening to Timeless Teachings. Welcome to the world of human stories, human development, and human connection. Here we have real conversations with modern teachers, leaders, experts, influencers, and simply ordinary people from all over the world about the subjects that matter for our mind, body, and soul, so that you can create a truly spectacular life. This is Timeless Teachings, a global podcast with yanafry. Let me ask you a question. Are you happier in your current career? Are you feeling truly fulfilled? What you are doing right now, is it meaningful for you? Are you making a difference and living your purpose? Our guest today is Milena Nguyen, a Vietnamese-born purpose and business coach, published author, 3-time TEDx speaker. And we are going to talk about how you can facilitate a conscious career change, how to create a soul-aligned business, how to overcome the imposter syndrome, and overall, how to live your purpose and make a difference. Let's welcome Milena. Milena, thank you so much for joining us for Timeless Teachings. It's really a pleasure to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. I feel like we've had so many opportunities that we wanted to collaborate, but finally it come true. So my pleasure.
Exactly. And I would like to dive straight in. We always do into the essence. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Milena?
Well, it's hard to capture the essence of who you are in words, I feel, because I feel like for all of us, we are so big that it's hard to just shrink it down to a few words. But if I had to, for the sake of simplicity, I will say I am a changemaker. I am on a mission to help other changemakers to shine their light because the world truly needs it. Aside from that, I'm also a mother. I am a tree lover and a lover of the planet Earth.
And I know that one of the key topics we wanted to talk about today is your transition from the corporate world into the wellness world and how to build a business around especially human transformation and human potential, right? So Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, I spent the first 5 years in my career working in a very like a structured world. I wasn't really working in corporate world, but I was working in a very big NGO because from the beginning, I always feel like I want to make a difference. So where is the better place to do that than working for a nonprofit organization? So I dived head first into that world, and it was great. I mean, the organization's mission was great, and I really believe in it. But throughout the process, I discovered that even though that purpose was very meaningful, it wasn't meaningful to me as to Milena.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like maybe you can relate to this, or some of our listeners can relate to that. When we want to make a difference and we see an organization that have very beautiful purpose, and we're like, yes, we're going to make it our purpose. And then we work in it, and then we realize that, but wait a minute, it is meaningful, but it is not meaningful to me. It doesn't light me up. So that's exactly what happened to me.
And this is such an important point, okay? So
yes.
let's just elaborate on it, because
Yeah.
that has also been the story for so many people. And I have been seeing statistics and research, particularly for millennials, which technically we are the generation, that it is, and especially now during and after the pandemic, that it is huge, almost like a movement
around the world, especially in developed countries, where many people are quitting their corporate jobs because exactly this particular reason that you said, they find it's not meaningful for them what they're doing. And so they want to do something which is meaningful for them, which often then leads to solopreneurship, which was your journey, right?
Yes, absolutely. I really love how you bring it up like that. Because I feel like it's almost more convenient to look at another purpose and missions, and I bought into that and say, I'm just going to ride that train. But at some point, we need to realize that if we are feeling a dissatisfaction deep in our heart, um, that is there for a reason. If we're feeling empty, if we're feeling lost, if we're feeling that like ache, almost like an existential ache that we want to find another path. And it's very important to listen to that rather than trying to kind of like lie to ourselves because we want convenience and we want safety. We might lie to ourselves that, oh, but this is meaningful, like, but this is still meaningful. I'm still doing something meaningful. But if it's not meaningful to you, then it's not something that you are here to do.
Those are the golden words. And I would just add that for people who are listening to us or watching it right now, right, that let's just be clear, by no means, we're not encouraging anyone quitting their jobs today.
No.
But in the corporate world, this is not the whole point. So the point is that you have to be honest with yourself. What makes you happy? What brings you fulfillment? And it is also where the society is moving more and more these days, that people want to have jobs that bring them fulfillment, especially younger people, whatever the younger people are. And sometimes I'm sure, and I'm going to ask you now this in a moment, that what you said, people worried about safety and security and what happens to my life, how I'm going to pay my bills, how I'm going to explain it to people around me. And I can tell you, because I have also worked with people who have been changing their careers, but often they're a little bit older. So when they come for coaching and guidance, but those people could often be like in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And it is much harder to do it at that age because you just accumulated much more, right? So actually to change something in your 20s or 30s, if you feel it's not fully aligned with who you are, it's much easier.
Exactly. The more you accumulate, I've got the same, some of my clients are also more established. And it's almost like they thought that they would spend a lot of years to gain that financial safety. But then once they gain that financial safety, it feels like a lot more to lose.
Exactly.
You have more, so you feel like a lot more to lose. So it feels even harder to change than when you are a bit earlier in your career. You have more flexibility. Probably you don't have like a full family that you need to feed, maybe. So there is freedom and flexibility there. But I also want to say that, like, regardless of the age, right? Like, there is never too late to be making a transition towards your truly purposeful path.
So tell me, what was the most challenging part of your transition?
Yes, the most challenging part of my transition was to get honest with myself, because I did not want to admit to myself that I wasn't happy. I had these perfect outer pictures of a very prestigious role that many people, like thousands of people in the organization want. I was like the first Vietnamese being on that role and all of that thing. So I had these statues that I wanted to keep. And I didn't want anybody, especially myself, to know that I wasn't happy. So I struggle and I keep, denying the fact that I was truly miserable. It wasn't because of the organizations. Like, my organization was a truly beautiful organization, great culture, but it wasn't the right fit for me. So, but I keep denying that for a long time. I keep chasing like the next performance target and the next rewards, the next positions, until I was so depressed. I feel like I reached rock bottom, and the beauty of rock bottom is that there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. So I remember one afternoon, I was working in the Netherlands back at that time. One afternoon, I was walking home from work. So my home's actually very near to my office. I walk home, and it was It's the early spring. And if you live in the Netherlands early spring, you know that the weather is not the most cheerful. So the sky was gray, the street was gray. I was walking home on my heels. Nobody else was on the street except it's just me, like carrying my laptop, listening to the sound of my footstep on the road. And I just feel like I'm so empty. I just finished another day where I check off everything on my list. I empty my to-do list and I am so empty. And then I had to come to a realization there on the street in that moment that, okay, my plan wasn't working. Whatever master plan that I had going on about gaining achievements and buying into another big purpose that didn't feel meaningful to me, it is not working. This is not the life that I want for myself and I must change. So that was the first piece, of to get really honest with yourself that you are not happy, that you're not truly fulfilled. And then the second piece was to get clarity. And that was a huge challenge because I had no idea what I want. I knew that I wanted more, and I know that this wasn't what I want, but I also don't know what I want at all. Zero clues. I spent so many years in my life being so removed from my inner voice and my intuitions, my true natures and my essence that I had no clue. No, I'm sure that some of the listeners can relate that if we spend so many years of our life following other people's expectations, and eventually we take that inside our head and we have an inner critic that tell us that we must do this and this and this in order to be worthy, we completely lose touch with our true source of truth, right? Like our inner navigation system. I call that our inner compass. Disconnect. So I had no clue. But I knew that I could not go on. So I just decided to stop. And to decide that, I had a few job offers and there was another way to continue to take the next step in the organization. But I just decided, okay, I just got to pause. And I'm so glad I did that. I didn't know at that time that I needed that, but I just kind of like intuitively think that a pause would do me good. But stillness was everything in order to help me to get back in touch with my truth. Yeah.
What happened with communication with people around you? So here you are, right? Working in a corporate job. And I assume your friends, your family, maybe parents still have to say in that. I don't know, have opinion about it. And then suddenly Milena goes, you know what? I don't feel fulfilled. I want to do something different. So what was the reaction?
I didn't tell my parents.
Good girl.
I lie. Okay. I don't recommend it to everyone, but at some point you just need to, choose it for you and explain it later to them. And the best thing I could do at that time was just to lie. I just say, I'm going to just, take a short break. And then I just gone off for 3 months. And I also lie that I would just take a break. And then after that, I'll find like, I go to another job. I go back to the corporate world and I'll have a normal life again. But I never did that. So
the parents know.
My parent knows that now. They still don't know what I'm doing, but it's fine. They finally learned to trust me. But yeah, I didn't tell that. I mean, I lied. And I make a space for myself in order to get back to myself. And this one is important because it's almost like the metaphor of a caterpillar transforming towards a butterfly. Like if you want true transformations, not just to go from a thin caterpillar to a fat caterpillar, then we need to pause and like put ourselves in a cocoon, right? Like the caterpillar don't just like keep going. You want to grow legs and like extra wings.
You just keep saying some really, really important words here. So I just highlighted to make sure it lands.
Yeah, sure.
People listening to us or watching right now. So one thing you said very important, that when we are going through a major life transition, like let's say what you're describing, when you're moving from a corporate culture into probably more like a freestyle, self-employed or business owner, right, type of income. people who are closest to us, which is usually our family members, very often might be not very supportive of that because they are afraid, right? I mean, so they are scared. And I mean, they love us very much and they are scared for our safety and our security and our well-being. Now, you are already confused and you don't really know what you want to do at that moment, right? So I'm not talking about you specifically, just in general, when anyone, I have been there the same. So when we make this decision, I feel that the person who is making this leap, and you were saying it like leap from the corporate world into, like, let's say, running your own business, right? Which is aligned with your values and your fulfillment. You are already on a shaky ground. And so if people around get destabilized in their mind and try to sort of communicate their fears to you, it's not like it makes your situation easier. So that's why actually what you did was not so bad. You know, it's like sometimes it's what you said. Sometimes you just need to do what you need to do. And you need time and space for this. And then once you're a bit more stable with your decision and your ground and you build something up, also mentally and emotionally, you're in a much better state to explain it to people around, including the client, right? So that's why I feel like your decision was perfect. You know, so that's the other one you were mentioning about, you know, the cocoon and the taking time for ourselves. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So let's say a person wants to make any life-changing decision, for example, professional, doesn't have to be, right? It could be personal decision. So how do we take time in our very busy world?
Yes. Well, I'll just share my story of how I take time. And it is not really the ideal way, but that's how I navigated it. And after that, I'll create like a framework of how you can take time and find those clarity. But back then I had no framework. So I just did what I did. So I took the time and it was very hard because I was used to always be productive, always creating something, making values, checking things off the to-do list, and suddenly having lots of time. It was hard. But after, and here time here is to time to not do anything productive, like how you define productivity, adding values, but just the time for you to sit with yourself. Open space, like an open space in your calendar where you do not have anything, just like white space for you to just be with yourself. And at first boredom might come up, some sort of doubt might come up, but just sit with them. And it's almost like when you have a glass of water that's very dirty, like it has like dust or something. You keep shaking it, it will just get muggy and muggy, right? You just place it and just let it sit there. It's going to get still and eventually we get quiet. I did not know how to do meditation at the time. I didn't start it with my spiritual journey yet. So I just kind of like walk around the street. I spent time back then in a small town in Germany, which was Bonn, which is perfect for me at the time because there is nothing else to do. Just walking around the streets and for the first time really befriend myself and spend time with me. And noticing how I feel and my thoughts. And eventually, maybe it was like a week into that, every day was the same, just walking around, like listening to myself, noticing things, journaling a little bit. I start to hear for the first time, like my inner voice, my intuition. It was morning, I woke up late. I didn't have anything to do. So why not wake up late? So I remember opening my eyes and I was still seeing the light going in the window. And suddenly a word come up. It was the first instruction. Only one word, right. It wasn't a word, but I just feel it come out of my body. Like, right. And I go, right, what? But here's the thing. When we come back in touch with our intuitions, like maybe what you get might not be like the full detailed pictures of your plan. Here's how your plan is going to be, right? Your full like destiny. Sometimes what we get is that like more hint or a breadcrumb or a small piece of instructions. And if we follow that, more thing will be shown to us. right? If you follow that, more thing we show. So like you follow your purpose and your purpose reveal more of itself to you. You follow the next step and then more step will be revealed to you. So one of the biggest thing that I see people get real stuck is that they feel like they don't have enough figured out. They don't have the full plan. They don't have the full clarity. But guess what? Like the only way you get the real clarity is through taking some step and just follow what you know already. So focusing on what you know instead of getting perfectionisms around like what you don't know and what you don't have figured out and try to have a perfect plan. Just like no plans won't work, right?
Yes, the plan is the plan.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yes.
so again, it's just like such an important message because we live in a society that conditions us from a very young age to know. Right? You have to know. You have to know the right answers at school. You ideally, by the time you finish your high school, you have to know what you want to study for the next 5 years. If you go to university, it means when you're 17, 18, you have to know where you want to work. You know, you have to figure it out. And then like once you go into the job, there's also again those questions. I'm sure even during the interview, I never worked in a big company myself. I have always been a rebel, but I heard from other people. So when you go for the job, they often ask you, so where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Right? So, or in 5 years from now, people want to know before they hire someone. So you're always conditioned to know. We all are. And that's also very sort of left brain type of operation.
Yeah.
And they're very structured. It's technically very masculine also. So structured, masculine, you know, step by step. I have to know the goal I accomplish.
Yeah.
And it is beautiful in a practical sense. I mean, we still need that. We need that skill because that's how we build the practicality of life. However, what you were saying, it does not bring fulfillment. Because fulfillment is everything on the other side. It is more the right brain. It is more the kind of feminine, I guess, approach, feminine in the sense that you don't know where exactly you're going. It's in your words, just following the breadcrumbs, sometimes the intuition, sometimes, or just this deep inner calling that there is something better there. And that's probably one of the toughest things for people to do. So my question to you here, and because you work also, you coach people through that, right? You help them to make those transitions. So when someone comes who struggles, let's say in their mind with a decision, they say misalignment between mind and heart, right? So heart wants one thing and mind wants something else. What is the way to bring peace to those two?
Listen to the both and not trying to like deny either. I feel like if we can go into the extreme. We're like, oh, screw the mind. I'm going to go with my heart. But the mind is there with a certain questions, with a certain doubt and a certain fear for a good reason. There's a reason why there is those fear. And to sit down and listen to the fear and the doubt is important too. Because if we do not see the fear and the doubt and maybe being able to uncover what are those limiting beliefs besides those fears and doubt, or what are the emotional blockages or inner block that is still present. If you even go with your heart and you bring all of that baggages with you, you end up kind of create the same disfulfillment that you have in the old place, right? Whatever inside us go with us. So even if you change job, career, or whatever, if we do not see all the baggages that we still carry and do the unloading and the transforming to free yourself from that, then we will for sure still create the same limitation that we will experience in the new place. So to sit down and to listen and do some clarity, a coach would be really great throughout this process. But get curious about your fear, right? Let's say you have a lot of fear around money. Money is a big one that always come up.
Big one, of course.
Huge one, right? And one of the big one that I see, especially from women, is that they are afraid that they just wouldn't be able to make money on their own. They do not think that they will be able to handle money. They don't think that they are good with money. They don't think that they will be able to create an income. So if you can sit down and listen to those fears and get curious about what are the limiting beliefs behind these and where did it come from? Because trust me, no baby is born in this world think, I can't make money. I have a child myself, and the child believed that she deserved everything she asked for. She kept asking for it, and she becomes such a big headache. But
she doesn't know what is the price of it, right? So just
yes,
mommy, I want that.
A child born full of worthiness, believe that she deserves everything that she wants. She will be asking for it. So you were surely not born with this belief. So where did you pick it up? What are the circumstances in your upbringing that give it to you, and do deeper work into releasing these, like dropping the baggage before you go on this journey, right? We cannot carry the same thing that have been keeping us like low and stuck, and hope to travel on this big journey. It wouldn't work like that. So
those powerful points. And I'm just asking on the behalf of people who are listening, watching, and they might not know, how do you let go of limiting beliefs? Like, okay, so here I am, I have this big dream. I want to change, the job, right? I want to start my own business, do something which really fulfills me. And I spend time with myself. I figure out, maybe I face my fears. Maybe I write down, like, I understand limiting beliefs about money or success or talents, right? And that's probably the other big one. So let's say identify all of this, and maybe I'm even self-aware enough to figure out where they come from, because it's also not very intuitive for all people. So but let's say we figure it out, so where those beliefs are coming from. So what's next?
Yes, great question. There are different modalities to approach this belief breakthrough work, but one of my favorite way is through inquiry. It's actually, I love the modality that Brian Katie teach, like the work, the 4 questions. So if you want to go deeper, go there too. But what I find really powerful is to connect the inquiry, like an inquiry, we mean asking questions, with your bodies as well. So let's just give an example. Let's say you have sit down with your feet and you discover that they have a limiting beliefs around money, right? Or maybe the limiting belief is I cannot make money, or I don't deserve to earn abundantly. I can't earn abundantly doing what I love. Let's say that. So the first step would be to be able to name that belief, write it down in one full sentence, right? I am not good at money, for example. Write it down in one full sentence. And now you would want to start to question that. And why do we want to question? Because belief is like a religion. We all have a religion inside our head, even if we think that we're not religious. Our belief is our religions, right? Right?
Absolutely.
And we all have a set of like limiting beliefs that we lived out. That's our religion right there. So, and one of the big no is to ask questions, right? So it's not about having a belief. It's about having never questioned that. And when we start questioning a thought, a belief is simply a thought that your mind likes very much. It likes so much that it leave it out without question. So when we can start questioning that thought, we begin to like shaky that foundations of that, and begin for it to like start to fall away. Or what I love to compare to is, let's say, imagining here's my left hand is my open palm is your mind, and my left and my right hand is the face, and that is the belief. And the mind wrap around that belief just like this. So wrap around that. So when you start asking questions, you begin to create a space so the mind can relax and can open that face, that palms, and it can go away from that belief for a moment. So, and in this space is real freedom here. Viktor Frankl say, right? Like, here's the space between the thought and the response, something like that. So then you can choose different reality. And how you can approach this is that you can begin asking questions. Is it true? Is it true that I'm not that good at money? Right? And then you can continue to ask, like, can I really prove that it's true? Like, is there any way for me to like absolutely prove scientifically that this is an absolute truth? when you really genuinely approach it and be very curious, it's very hard to prove any of our thought to be an absolute truth. It's not like water boils at 100 degrees C on Earth, right? And even that is like a relative truth on Earth, because on Mars, water boil, I think at 5 degrees or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly, but it's a different degree. So then you start to realize and really sit with it. Well, there's no way for me to scientifically prove that this thought that I've been holding on for so long and acted out is an absolute truth. And then the next thing that you want to take is to ask yourself deeper question, like when I believe in this thought, how do I feel in my body? How do I treat myself? How do I treat people around me? And what do I forget? What do I forget when I believe in this thought? Then after that, you can go even deeper by asking, just let's imagine. So this is my favorite part of this inquiry process.
Take us to this.
Yes. Let's imagine that nothing changed except that this thought suddenly gone. Like you can close your eyes and you can imagine that this thought suddenly gone. Right? That synapse in your brain that created that suddenly disconnect, and you cannot remember it. You cannot. It cannot occur to you anymore. You can't recall it. How would you feel? I'm not asking you to think another thought. I'm asking you to imagine how it might feel in your body when you do not have this thought anymore. And all of the people that I've walked through this process with in my coaching, their answer is just, I feel lighter. I feel more open. I feel more at peace. And some of them say that I feel more energized. Well, that's very interesting. And when you're in this state, how would you treat yourself? How would you treat your dreams? How would you treat other people? And what do you begin to remember? Right? So then what we are actually doing here is to help your body and mind to imagine. The imagination is so powerful. You can't imagine it, you can't create it. To imagine how it might be like to be without this limiting thought. And so it can begin to open up that possibility for you to exist without it. And for so many people that I've worked with, they're like, it is the very first time that they are not without that thought. Like they've lived like 20, 30 years with that thought in the back of their mind without even knowing, because these are subconscious. We don't know that we have them. And then suddenly they imagine being with that and they're like, oh, no, I've never felt this way before. It's amazing. So it's actually start opening this possibility for you to show up differently in the world. And then the final step, this is cherry on the top here, is to turn that thought around. So go back to the original thought. So if you do that inquiry, for sure, at the end of that process, you have created a lot more space between your mind and its thought. And the next thing is to try to turn that thought around into something that feels true to you in your body, that it feels true in your body. It's not like when we watch, let's say we scroll the internet and we see like a bumper stickers, quote, and we're like, whoa, inspiring. But it's feel like it's outside of us. No, this new version of the thought, it needs to feel true deeply in your body, right? And what is it for you? Now it's your creativity. You can change that around. Maybe it is I can learn to make money, right? Or is it I allow myself to earn abundantly with the work I love, or something else? So change that around to something that feels true to you. And that's that. The next thing you want to continue is to take that with you and continue that work of installing and live into that new belief, feeling it daily in your body. And that's like, yes, it's an affirmation, but a deeper level of affirmation. Because now, once you've done the work of releasing the old belief, there's a space for you to install a new one. I hope that wasn't too long.
Yes, I want to
it's a really deep process.
So generous with this.
Yeah.
Who have been listening very carefully. What Milena actually just did now, she took us step by step through a very deep, and I can see even from the description of it, highly efficient process. How can you let go of your limiting beliefs and transform basically within yourself, so you can create this new reality. So everyone, guys, I would strongly encourage you to listen to this piece again and take some notes, right?
Yeah.
So, and just write a note and those step-by-step process what you can do. And of course, I mean, the other probably better ways to reach out to Milena and talk directly. But so you can also do it yourself just through just share.
Yeah.
And okay, so we do all of that. So let's say that's settled and free, the mind is free, right? Nothing is holding back. And so here is this person who has this idea, wants to do, let's say, a new amazing business, cleared, the mind. And then that person goes into the world of business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the imposter syndrome.
Ooh.
Right? So, and then what happens often to people?
Oh yes, I love this topic because I feel it every single day, and I probably feel it right after this. Yesterday, fun story. Yesterday, I did a training, and then after the training, I just felt a bit off. And so I started to text my team because my team was there and said, hey, how do you feel about the training? Give me the honest feedback. And they're like, it was great. Like, we love the training, but give me the honest feedback because inside me, I want them to tell me that I suck because that's what the imposter syndrome tell me. So even when they tell me, oh, the training is great, they're like, I feel inside me, there's a voice that say, oh, they just want to make me feel good. I could not internalize my success. Or
how
my
amazing you are.
Okay,
Milena, you're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing.
I just want to say, and I've been in this, I pivoted in 2014. So I started my own brand and my own business in 2014. I've been here for a long time, 9 years now. Sometimes I just lose track of how many years, so I just say the real wrong, but 9 years now. And I still have it. So I feel like imposter syndrome is not something that we can beat to the ground. We can't fight. We just need to befriend it and know to name it when it's there. Because it's really like this force of shadow and light. Let's say you are a tree. I say you're a tree. You are a small tree and you cast a little bit of shadow. And then when you are a gigantic tree, like you are a big sycamore, an oak tree, you have cast stronger shadows. I feel like imposter syndrome is that shadow that just it's just hang around and we just need to have a healthy relationship with it when it comes up to say, okay, well, thank you for your input. And let's just move on. And not mistake it for the truth. Like the mistake that people have is when imposter syndrome come up. Let's say that you are new, right? Let's say you're starting a new coaching business or consulting business, service-based, and you had a first meeting with a client. And after that, you feel like, maybe I wasn't at 100% best. And then imposter syndrome will come and say, you see, you are never meant to do this in the first place. You're not born for this. Then we are back into the fixed mindset, right? You're not born for these, or these are all just you're a fraud, people is going to find out how terrible you are. So when this come up, the mistake is to go inside ourselves and make that the truth. Is to begin to doubt ourselves and doubt our deservedness of being here. Instead, what we can do is to recognize that, oh, this sounds familiar. I've heard it before. This is imposter syndrome. Oh, hello, old friend. And take that and take that to channel that into something productive. Let's say if you have real doubt about whether or not you've delivered, the best person to tell you that is your clients, is your customers, right? So the productive thing to do would be to maybe message them and ask for feedback. Instead, tell them, hey, I'm always open for improvement. If you have any feedback on how I can be in better service for you, let me know. I'm always looking to improve. So that is a way for you to get in touch with reality. Ask people who trust you and who's honest, and to get you back in touch with reality too, of who you truly are. So imposter syndrome come up when just it tells us who we are not. I feel get us really muddled in the not the reality or the full pictures of who we are. So we do need someone to remind us of who we are. And if there's space for feedback, then the best person to tell you is not imposter syndrome, but your client. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing. And I feel that it is definitely coming up for so many people. And interesting enough, from what I at least have been seeing, it feels that it's more comes up for women. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but this is just seems to be the common pattern, that especially when you said when a woman wants to do something on her own, then all of those fears, and it's basically the fear. The question is, am I worthy enough? Right? That's kind of the question that comes
definitely.
And that's kind of the underlying fear. And again, because of how women, especially brought up in the society, sort of always putting other people's needs first, your needs second, have to be the accommodating one, the forgiving, the understanding one, right? So you kind of finally go, well, I actually want to live life the way I want to live life and follow my heart calling. And it might be uncomfortable for some people around me. And that's okay. Maybe if those people around me are not supporting this amazing, hugely evolved, big version of myself, maybe they're not the right people to be with. This is always a tough question. And maybe just like one of the final questions for today, when we go into this transition and living the life of our dreams, but I often hear from people that it could complicate relationships with people around them, especially friends, right? And not all friends stay with you when you choose actually the journey of potential. And that seems to be a big subject for many people. They don't know what to do about it. Like those are my friends. I have known them 5, 10, 20 years. And suddenly I want to do something which I really want to do. And people feel that, especially friends, often are not supporting, because here you are from something very comfortable they have known for ages, becoming something completely different. They don't know how to get this, right? So how to deal with that in your experience?
Can I ask for this? I would love to talk a little bit about the thing that you just brought up, because I feel like it's so important. Then I'll circle back into this question.
Go ahead.
You brought up something very close to my heart, and it just must talk about it. Is you brought up the topic about women, and women feel imposter syndrome a lot more. And why? Because we lived in patriarchy for a long time. There's this systematic oppression of women, and women voice that given for thousands of years, right? Women's voice is considered worth less than men's voice. Women's and women will still, like, recently, until I don't know the exact statistic, but until in the past, like maybe 50 years or so, we know that women, even still in some society today, women are not allowed educations, and women are punished if they want to have their own business. Or I know that in the old society in Vietnam, like, it's not proper for women to to exist, be her own independent person. Have her own bank account, like trying to start a business and all thing like that. So it's important to recognize that we are still living in the after effect, and we're still actually living in patriarchy. And so the reason why women feel so not safe to be where to live their truth or start a business is that we don't see other women do the same. I read a study where one of the big major reasons for imposter syndrome is that you do not see anybody who looks like you in the place where you want to be. There's no one that looks like you with your same skin color, colors of hairs, and so your gender. So of course, then we'll feel like, okay, nobody's there. It's not safe. Our subconscious might pick that up, that it is not possible. Right? Even if we can reason our subconscious mind, when it does not see anyone that looks like us in the place where we want to be, it tells ourselves that reality is not possible. So that is so important for us to know, because that's why we must follow our light. Because when we do that, not only we benefits ourselves, right? We are helping the other women who want to be following their light to do the same too. So for you, for example, Yana, I know you for sometimes for many years now, you've been following your light, and you are a great example, because other women who want to follow that same path, they can see you and they can know that it is possible, right? So, and for any women who listen to these, or any people who find like marginalized group, because you have like different gender orientations, the fact that you follow your light is incredibly important for all the people who will be able to see you living your truth, making an impact or making an abundance life, doing what you love, and go, wow, maybe it's possible for me too. So yes, so that's that. I needed to say that. And then
now the friends.
Now I will go back to the friends because it's important too. And yes, it's very important. It cuts really deeply when this relationship seems like they are being fractured, or seems like we are being rejected, or by people who we hold very close to our heart because of a path that we chose, right? So, well, what I can say about that is there is a certain grieving that needs to happen because not all the relationships are meant to go with us forever. And here it's not just friendship, but even like couple relationship. I got a divorce when I was 29 years old, and I was a 29 years old like divorced person going towards my 30s, and I knew that relationship. I'm grateful for that. It was a 7 years relationship. We support each other, but it was a time in my life when I know to continue to follow my soul purpose, to follow the desire that I feel deeply in my body. It is no longer the life partner for me. He was no longer the life partner for me, not because he didn't care about me. He was a wonderful person, just because we wanted different things. We have totally different sets of desires and we have different callings, and it was no longer meant to be together. So I got a divorce. I grieved, I cried, and I moved on. But the beauty about it is that when you dare to let go of the relationship, of the things that is no longer meant for you in your path, is no longer aligned with your true calling, you make a massive, massive space for the universe to enter you with the right person, the right opportunity, the right career that will serve you best. So we just need to take that leap of faith, because I do believe that one of the big reasons why we are afraid and we're doubtful is that we do not trust that the universe intention is for our highest good. And I'm going to preach it for a moment, is that I deeply believe, and I've gone through so many situations in my life when this belief is confirmed over and over again, that the universe only intention is to help us to grow into our fullest, most authentic, worthy, truest versions of us. And so everything that is going to come to you is in that your highest good. So when you know that is how the universe works, you just trust that the universe has your best interest in mind, and you just take the leap. So if you're doubtful, right? This is the question I love asking myself when I'm doubtful too. So if I know for sure that the universe only intention is to help me to become my fullest, most authentic, worthy versions of me, right? To live from that place, then what would I choose, right? Would you take the leap of faith? You probably will, because you'll be trusting. And once you do that, you're also sending a massive message to the universe that you trust in the universe. And so you're making space. And so the thing you want will come flooding to you. This is one of the best things about manifestation is you gotta let go. You cannot still keeping the same old relationship that you're stuck in, the same old job, and you want to hope that the big thing is going to come. No, a lot of the time, again and again, you got to take the leap, and then the universe catch you with just the right thing that you need next on the path. Did I answer the question? I feel like I've just kind of gone.
And I'm just kind of, going to sit here, and that was Milena on Timeless Teachings Podcast, sharing with us pretty much everything today, from the transition from the corporate world into running your own business and following your dreams and following your passion, right? How to identify and overcome your limiting beliefs, how to identify, face, befriend, and deal with the imposter syndrome, what to do if you're a woman, which is a big one. How do you look around into the world? How to deal with friends or other people or parents, for that matter, who might not be fully supporting your life transition, and how to address that, how to be honest with yourself about the relationship you're in. And my favorite one, which you saved for the very end, is that the universe always loves you and supports you.
Yes.
And with these words, so we are wishing everyone an amazing day, morning, evening, night, wherever you are. And stay tuned. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
A gentle reminder that this is not a regular podcast, because here we have no rules and no scripted questions. All conversations are spontaneous, unfiltered, and real, with people from all over the world, regardless of their race, religion, nationality, skin color, language, or social circumstances. The intention for this podcast is to showcase the infinite variety of how human beings think and what they do to create happiness, fulfillment, self-realization, health, wealth, legacy, and overall, a truly spectacular life. Did you enjoy the interview? Feel free to share this episode with friends, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, and follow us on social media. And remember, you are the master of your own life.